I rent luxury bags, luxury cars, and villas every day. I hire bodyguards to pick me up and drop me off at school. I am in a high-profile relationship with a popular rapper. A month later, Zhao Xiaolu finally used the exchange system on me, but she didn't know that this was the beginning of her nightmare. My name is San Linxue, and before the age of 8, I was the apple of my family's eye. My parents earned tens of millions a year and had plenty of time, apart from work. They always spent most of their time with me. In the winter when I was 8, I fell seriously ill, and a master in the capital said I was destined to face a calamity. My parents, in order to accumulate merit for me, sponsored Zhao Xiaolu, who lives in a remote rural area and is the same age as me. Over the course of half a year, they sent a total of 200,000 yuan to the Zhao family. The Zhao family was extremely grateful and invited my parents to visit the countryside several times. Finally, during the summer vacation, we agreed to go and taste the plums they had grown themselves. That was the first time I saw Zhao Xiaolu. Her skin was dark, her frame thin, and she hid behind two burly, stooped adults, nervously staring at me. My upbringing from a young age prompted me to extend a friendly hand to her. From that day on, Zhao Xiaolu stuck to me like a shadow. I taught her how to play games on the phone, and she would exclaim with envy, "Games are so much fun. I wish I could play them every day." I gave her chocolate, and she held onto it until it melted, reluctant to eat it. Is it only people like you who get to eat such delicious snacks every day? I was still young and naive, lost in the joy of sharing, completely unaware that Zhao Xiaolu's gaze toward me was growing increasingly dark. On the night before I was to leave the village, Zhao Xiaolu slipped into my room. Her cold hands held my arm. Unlike her usual quiet and reserved self, she kept acting coquettishly. "Sister Xiaoxue, I don't want you to leave." Half asleep, I went along with her. "When you come to the city in the future, you can come find me to play." Really, she was happy but also felt a bit down, saying, "But I'm afraid you'll forget me later." How about this? There's a saying in our village that if two people exchange a drop of blood, they won't lose each other in the future. I believed her words and pricked my finger with a needle to give her a drop of blood. The next day, my parents pushed open the door and called out gently, "Xiaoxue, we're home." I rubbed my eyes and was just about to get up. Then I saw my parents, who had always loved me dearly, gently pick up Zhao Xiaolu, pinch the tip of her nose with their fingers, and whisper, "Lazy pig, still sleeping." I was so frightened that I fell from the bed onto the floor, reaching out to them and shouting, "Mom, Dad, I'm here." "You've got the wrong person." My parents glanced at me with confusion, their eyes filled with an unfamiliar sense of amusement. "Xiaolu, are you still half asleep?" "No, I'm not. I rushed eagerly into their arms. My parents frowned and stepped back. At that moment, Zhao Xiaolu in their arms finally woke up, turned her head at the sound, and glanced at me. When I saw her face, my blood instantly froze. Zhao Xiaolu actually looks exactly like me. I couldn't help but scream. Desperately pulling at Zhao Xiaolu, the loud noise attracted the burly rural couple. They held me down firmly, apologizing repeatedly to my parents. "I'm sorry, Xiaolu must have had a nightmare. She's not usually like this." My parents forced out awkward smiles. "It's fine." Zhao Xiaolu, held in their arms, stared at me for a moment before suddenly turning her head and saying, "Mom and Dad, she's so scary, like a crazy person. Last night, she even poked me with a needle. Can we please stop supporting her?" she said, extending her fair, delicate fingertip, which bore the wound I had accidentally pricked in my days last night. My parents were indeed furious. They held Zhao Xiaolu and left without looking back. No matter how the rural couple pleaded, they refused to turn around. That day, overwhelmed with despair, I ran after their car like a madwoman, shouting over and over, "Mom, Dad, I'm Xiaoxue." However, my parents, who once doted on me, never looked back. The black car quickly sped onto the road and soon disappeared from sight. I lost one of my shoes and sat on the edge of the field, crying so hard I could barely catch my breath. It wasn't until nightfall that the rural couple found me, and without a word, their fists came down on me. "You little brat, have you lost your mind? How dare you offend the distinguished guests from the city, now that they won't be sending us money anymore? How are we supposed to survive, you wretched girl? I'll beat you to death." "What, you look down on our rural family and want to follow them? Too bad they're like the moon in the sky, and you're just the mud on the ground. After offending that precious girl, do you think they'll still pay any attention to you?" Zhao Xiaolu was already quite thin. They beat me half to death. At first, I stubbornly insisted, "I am Song Linxue," but they thought I was crazy and became even more brutal. Later, I no longer dared to argue and could only roll on the ground, begging for mercy. That was the first time I rolled in the mud, completely devoid of the elegance and dignity I once had at the piano. For a long time after that, I repeatedly threw my dignity into the mud. Rural areas favor sons over daughters. They treat girls with extreme harshness. If you can't cook, you get beaten. If the food tastes bad, you get beaten. If you wake up late in the morning, you still get beaten. Because the funding was cut off, The rural couple wouldn't let me go to school. Every time I mentioned wanting to go to school, it would always lead to a beating. They would angrily scold me. What's the use of a girl studying? It's just a waste of money. You'd be better off doing more work. That way, you can earn a reputation for being diligent, and it'll be easier to marry you off in the future. I was originally thinking of putting on a show and sending you to school. But who told you to offend the Song family? From now on, just work hard for me. As time went on, I began to suspect that my life before the age of 8 was just a dream. Another 7 years passed, and I finally found an opportunity to make a phone call to my parents. The phone rang for a long time, and finally, a faint hello came from the other end. Is that my mother's voice, still so gentle and kind? Not at all like the hysterics of rural couples. I didn't remember wrong. I almost trembled as I called out, "Mom," but before I could say anything more, a young girl's voice suddenly came from the other end of the phone. "Mommy, who called you?" My mother smiled dotingly and said, "I don't know. It seemed like they called me Mom. Maybe I misheard," a young girl's voice suddenly exclaimed. "It must be a scam call. These scammers are getting so bold these days. Mom, block the number right away." "Got it, sweetie." As my mom's voice faded, the call was abruptly cut off. Clutching the phone, I screamed Mom at the top of my lungs, but all I got in response was a series of busy tones. The shopkeeper who lent me the phone saw this and immediately reported to the rural couple that I had mental issues. That night, I suffered an unprecedented beating. I felt as if my skin and flesh were about to be torn open. The next day, I was in so much pain that I couldn't get out of bed. I slept until noon, and for once, the rural couple didn't disturb me. Just as I was puzzled, the courtyard gate was suddenly pushed open by a group of men. Leading them was a man weighing over 200 pounds. He scrutinized me with a critical eye, then curled his lip and said to the rural couple standing behind him, "She's skinny and ugly, but at least she's a woman. As long as she can give me a child, that's enough. Will you sell her for 3,000? If not, I'm leaving." The rural couple gratefully wrapped me in a quilt and handed me over to the fat man. That night, I experienced the darkest moment of my life. I struggled violently, kicking him in a sensitive spot, and he immediately slapped me. "You damn woman, I bought you because I thought highly of you. Give me a son soon, or I'll kill you." That slap of his knocked me out cold. When I came to, I was being gawked at by his brothers like some kind of livestock. The fat guy sat to the side, pointing at me and boasting smugly, "See, no matter how fierce a woman is, she can be tamed in just one night." The men laughed, their expressions filled with utter disdain. I numbly looked up, my eyes fixed on the fat man, desperately engraving this pain in my mind. From then on, the fat man came every time. 10 months later, I gave birth to a son. I never mentioned the Song family again. Nor do I think about calling my parents. I muddled through 5 years in the village. During those 5 years, I gave birth to another daughter and a son. I don't like them, and they look down on me, calling me a slut along with Fatty. When I was 20, the fat man was fooling around with a widow outside and got her pregnant. My son and daughter pointed at me and cursed, "You shameless woman, who told you to have no charm and couldn't keep Dad? It's all your fault, if Dad stops loving us. I'll have someone come and beat you to death." That day, for the first time, I lost my temper and slapped my eldest son. When Fatty came back, my eldest son tearfully complained to him. Fatty was furious and shouted, "How dare you hit my son?" He swung his fist, as big as a bull, and punched me again and again. I was beaten until my head was spinning and blood was flowing everywhere. In a daze, I thought of the Song family, of my parents, of the pure white princess dress and the elegant piano. At this moment, my hatred for Zhao Xiaolu reached its peak. The fat bastard probably never expected that I would fight back. When the dagger plunged into his chest, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. After that, I fed sleeping pills to the 3 children and took all the dead fat man's savings. He had partnered with city folks to smuggle seafood, and his savings were substantial, amounting to over $1 million. Carrying the $1 million in savings, I fled overnight, taking a 46-hour train ride. In the 12th year of our swapped fates, I finally breathed the air of the capital. 3 months later, at the International Student Congress of Jiangnan University, I took the stage as an outstanding student to give a speech. Jiangnan University is a prestigious school in the capital. As long as the money is sufficient, regardless of high school performance, one can gild their credentials at the school. I had someone arrange for me the identity of a wealthy heiress returning from studying abroad. Through continuous effort, I finally secured this opportunity to deliver the representative speech. I made my way forward, bypassing the crowd. All along the way, I could hear the whispers of other students. "Who is she? She's quite pretty, and that bag she's carrying, is it this spring's limited edition? I heard it's super expensive. Our male classmates are discussing it in the group chat. They say she's an international student from M country, and her family is in the hotel business." Her estimated net worth is in the billions, TSK, and she's also an outstanding student representative, so envious. As I listened to their words, the corners of my mouth gradually curved into a smile. Over the past 3 months, I used the dead fatty's money to get plastic surgery, rent designer bags and luxury goods, and went to great lengths to craft a persona for myself, all for this effect. I stepped onto the stage, all eyes were on me. I could hardly help but look toward one of them. There stood a girl in a blue dress with French waves, curiously sizing me up. Her features were delicate, and though her attire wasn't overly luxurious, it suited her perfectly, clearly a girl who had been carefully nurtured as she grew up. Just then, her friend nudged her arm. "Hey, San Linshue, why do I feel like that freshman representative is looking at you? Do you know her?" She tilted her head in confusion and smiled. "It must be an illusion. This is the first time I've seen her." How could I possibly know her? I took a deep breath and forced myself to look away. Under my parents' doting care, Zhao Xiaolu has grown up well. She had no endless chores, no insults from the fatso, and no 3 nightmarish children. She was happier than most 20-year-old girls. After my speech, I walked step by step down from the stage. As I passed by her, I suddenly stumbled forward. Zhao Xiaolu instinctively reached out to steady me. I gave her a sweet smile. "Thank you, classmate." She smiled back. "No problem," I complimented her. "Your lipstick color is really pretty. Could you send me a link?" Zhao Xiaolu was flattered and quickly took out her phone. Sure. We added each other on WeChat, and I sent a message to thank her. "Thank you, classmate. I haven't even asked for your name yet." Zhao Xiaolu quickly replied, "Song Linshue. You can just call me Xiaoxue, Jr." After adding Zhao Xiaolu, I started posting about luxury goods on my social media feed. On the first day, I posted 4 limited edition bags, a private yacht, and afternoon tea. On the second day, I flaunted a luxury car worth over 10 million and a candlelit dinner that cost 6 figures. On the third day, I shared a photo with a popular rapper and the 999 pink roses he gave me. Of course, the luxury items were rented, the luxury car and yacht were photoshopped by me. The rapper in the photo isn't me either, but a male model who looks about 60 to 70% similar. Song Linshue has never liked any of my posts, but I know she saw them, because on the second day after we became friends, she set her social media posts to be visible for only 3 days. Before that, I had looked through her social media posts countless times. Today I received a pair of high heels from my dad. He said he would give me a pair every year from now on, symbolizing my gradual growth into adulthood. Went to the beach with my mom and suddenly realized she's even fairer than me. Looks like I need to take better care of my skin. Although I didn't get into Kyoto University, Mom and Dad say I'll always be their little treasure every time I see these things. A wave of sadness almost suffocates me. Zhao Xiaolu seems quite content with her current life, with warm daily updates never ceasing on her social media. Coming from a rural background, the best things she could ever imagine are now within easy reach. Her parents doted on her and protected her well. Although she was ordinary, she was very happy. If she were truly content, everything I did would be in vain for her. But my social circle undoubtedly opened up a new world for her. On the 5th day, I finally opened the chat box with her and typed to ask, "Tomorrow is my birthday. Would you like to come to my house to play?" Zhao Xiaoyu's side showed typing. For a long time, I timed it and sent another message. "At Dolphin Bay Villa, you can see the rose sea and the starry sky at night, so everyone can take lots of beautiful photos." Half a minute later, her message finally arrived, albeit belatedly. Okay, the next day, Zhao Xiaolu arrived quite early. I stood right at the entrance and noticed she was carrying a bag worth 60,000 and wearing shoes that cost over 8,000, clearly dressed much more luxuriously than when we first met. As soon as Zhao Xiaolu entered the villa, she began looking around, her gaze fixed on the beautiful sea of roses, and the envy in her eyes was almost overflowing. At that moment, I appeared behind her and asked with a smile, "Beautiful, isn't it?" The butler spent 5 years meticulously tending to it. Zhao Xiaolu instantly put away her admiration and put on a proper smile. "It's very beautiful, but I'm curious, didn't Mom and Dad say before that Dolphin Bay Villa was publicly rented?" I explained without changing my expression. "This villa was a gift from my parents for my coming of age, but since I was abroad at the time, I listed it for public rental domestically. I've already taken it back now." Zhao Xiaolu nodded, seeming to understand but not quite, afraid she would continue asking. I shifted my gaze downward, landing on her bag. "This bag is nice, but it's from 2 years ago. Do you really like it?" Zhao Xiaoyu's smile froze for a moment. She nervously clutched her bag and mumbled vaguely, "Oh, really? I didn't notice. I just grabbed one from home." I laughed, although there was no particular meaning in my smile. Zhao Xiaoyu's ears grew redder and redder. "This is a gift for you." Zhao Xiaolu shoved a beautiful box into my hands. I casually opened it to find a bracelet worth over 3,000. Thanks, I said offhandedly, not giving it a second glance, and casually placed the box on the table. Zhao Xiaoyu's gaze deepened slightly, and she bit her lip. At that moment, several young men and women began to enter the villa one after another. Each of them was dressed in attire of considerable value. They each handed me their gifts. A Vacheron Constantine watch, see if you like it. This night pearl cost over 3 million. And I went through a lot of trouble to get it. This sapphire necklace was the finale piece at the auction a few days ago. Try it on and see if you like it. Zhao Xiaolu suddenly stopped in her tracks, staring blankly as I accepted gifts and chatted and laughed with my friends. I knew exactly what she was thinking. I am a highly educated international student, an outstanding student representative of Jiangnan University. I have parents who dote on me and will gift me a villa. I also have generous friends who hold me close to their hearts. My status is wealthier, more cherished, and more outstanding than Song Linxue. Her heart began to waver. After the banquet, the butler helped me see the guests off. When it was Zhao Xiaoyu's turn, I personally stood up to escort her. She seemed a bit flattered and quickly said, I can go by myself, no need to see me off. I didn't say anything, but suddenly took out a box from behind. Open it and take a look. Zhao Xiaolu opened it. Inside was a bag worth over 300,000, very similar in style to the one she was carrying today. She looked at me in surprise. Mission, what is this? A return gift for you. Thank you for coming to my birthday party today. No, this is too valuable. I naturally linked arms with her. In our circle, this is the standard for giving gifts. Please accept it. It doesn't cost much. Zhao Xiaolu lowered her eyes, lost in thought for a moment. Then smiled and said, well, thank you then. After that, I took Zhao Xiaolu to the rooftop of the villa to look at the stars. There was a huge telescope there. While Zhao Xiaolu was searching for Libra, a handsome guy appeared behind me and immediately wrapped his arm around my waist. She turned around, saw the man's face, and exclaimed in surprise, is he Lu Ziki, the champion from national rap, under the night sky? The boy's face was somewhat blurry, just realistic enough to be convincing. I patted his head, as if petting a puppy, and smiled. Yes, Zhao Xiaoyu's face flushed red, and she began to stammer. I watched his show. He sang really well. I think he's amazing. Are you a fan of his? Yes. Zhao Xiaolu couldn't help but glance at the boy beside me, seeing him look at me with a sticky gaze, hugging me and acting coquettishly. Her eyes gradually darkened. Lu Ziki, my friend is your fan. Bring more signed photos for me tomorrow. The boy leaned close to my shoulder and whispered in a low voice, okay, as many as you want. To avoid giving ourselves away, I sent him away. Zhao Xiaolu watched his retreating figure, her gaze lingering with reluctance. Of course, I knew she was a fan of Lu Ziki, otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. I snapped my fingers to draw her attention back. Since you like him so much, how about I give him to you? Zhao Xiaolu was startled, her ears turning crimson as she stammered, Ji, give it to me. Isn't he your boyfriend? It's just for fun. In our circle, what kind of man can't we get? Besides, he's just a rapper. If you really like him, come with me to the bar tomorrow, and I'll have him come play with you. I was testing Zhao Xiaolu. Although my parents are gentle, they are very strict when it comes to my education and absolutely forbid me from going to places like bars. Zhao Xiaolu had been well behaved for 12 years. Not daring to reveal her true self in front of them and rarely visiting entertainment venues. If she rejected me, it would prove that she at least had some principles. She couldn't possibly not understand what agreeing to me would mean, but she only hesitated for a few seconds. She happily nodded and said, all right, thank you for your trouble. It's no trouble at all, I replied with a smile. How could it be any trouble? I was just worried she wouldn't take the bait. The next night, I took Zhao Xiaolu to a bar. Amidst the dazzling lights and lively atmosphere, men and women gathered together, quickly getting into the swing of things. In the dim light, the guy I hired, who looked strikingly similar to Lu Ziki, showed up again, as a male model. He was accustomed to the world of romance and had his own set of tricks. After wrapping his arm around Zhao Xiaolu and whispering a few words, he managed to make her heart bloom with joy. Because of the lights and alcohol, Zhao Xiaolu didn't notice anything unusual. In the following days, I would always bring her here to have intimate contact with the boys. During the day, she was still the only daughter of the Song family, bright and dignified, but as soon as night fell, she would shed her layers of disguise and become increasingly unrestrained. Our relationship is getting better and better. In addition, I would take her to go drag racing, eat seafood on the ferry, and max out my credit card shopping in the mall. Just like that, more than half a month passed. Before I ran out of all the money I could use, Zhao Xiaolu finally showed her true colors again. That day, we returned to the villa after clubbing. Lying on the 3-meter wide bed, Zhao Xiaolu sighed. Mission, I really envy you, being able to live this kind of life every day. I looked at her with a faint, ambiguous smile, pretending not to understand the meaning behind her words. I casually asked, how could that be? I remember your family is quite well off too. Your parents could have given you these things. She pursed her lips. It seemed that my outspokenness over the past few days had left her with the impression that I was straightforward, and she too began to speak without thinking. No longer as cautious as before, to be honest, Mission. Before I met you, I also thought my life was pretty good, but a few days ago, when I told them I wanted to buy a 150,000 yuan necklace, they actually refused me. It's only 150,000 yuan, not even as expensive as a meal you treat me to. They claim to love me, but I think it's all just empty words. Listening to her complaint, my hands involuntarily clenched. If it weren't for the plan, I would have lunged at her and torn her mouth apart. But I held back, still wearing a smile and casually remarking, how could that be? Your parents own 2 companies, earning tens of millions every year, and they would actually begrudge you 150,000 yuan. Are you really their biological child? Zhao Xiaoyou's eyes instantly fluttered with panic, but after a moment, she steadied herself again. Of course they're my biological parents, they're just stingy. I don't think they love you enough. My parents are willing to buy me anything. I think so too. Zhao Xiaolu turned over and sat up from the bed, looking straight at me. You must be the happiest girl in the world. Your family is so wealthy. Your parents are abroad and don't control you. You have so many friends doting on you, and even your boyfriend is the kind of man others can only dream of. I met her gaze. After a long while, I smiled and said, according to what you said, it should be. She looked at me, with intense emotions swirling in her eyes. Just then, my phone rang from inside my bag. The old-fashioned ringtone wasn't from my phone, but from the dead fatties. My face suddenly turned grim. Zhao Xiaolu asked in confusion, whose call is it? Why aren't you answering? Just a little more, and Zhao Xiaolu would have said what I wanted to hear. Just at this moment, angrily, I took the dead fatty's phone to the bathroom, thought for a moment, and then pressed the answer button. Mom, is that you, Mom? From the other end of the phone came the anxious voice of my eldest son. The blood in my entire body felt as if it had been plunged into an ice cave, instantly turning cold. I stared fixedly at my phone, not saying a word. My eldest son called out a few times, as if knowing I was listening, and said impatiently, "Stop pretending, you wretched woman. I know you're listening. I'm warning you. The village chief said that if you come back on your own and hand over the money to them, they won't pursue the matter of you killing Dad, and they'll even help cover it up for you. Grandma and Grandpa have already brought me and my younger siblings to the capital to find you. It won't be long before we track you down, you wretched woman. Just wait there obediently and come home with us." I slammed the phone down with a sharp click. Turning back to the bedroom, I stared expressionlessly at Zhao Xiaolu. She was startled by me and quickly asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing much," I said, feeling a bit anxious, my tone urgent. "Did you have something to say to me just now?" Zhao Xiaolu was taken aback, a look of confusion appearing on her face as she studied my expression. "Mission, is everything all right at home?" I forced a smile. "Everything's fine." She became even more puzzled. "Really? But I just heard what sounded like a child's voice on your phone. Could it be your father's illegitimate child, trying to compete with you for the inheritance?" "You're overthinking it. Such melodramatic things only happen in TV dramas." I interrupted her and impatiently pressed again. "What were you trying to tell me earlier?" But Zhao Xiaolu laughed it off, shaking her head and saying, "Nothing, Mission. I'm tired. Let's get some rest early." I watched her for a long time, a slow smile spreading across my face. Yes, after turning to leave, my expression suddenly darkened. Zhao Xiaolu is very sharp. She must have sensed something was off. These past few days, she was so dazzled by my sweet talk that she didn't thoroughly check my background. However, I won't give her the chance to investigate carefully. From that day on, I stopped playing with Zhao Xiaolu. When she came to look for me, I always found various excuses to avoid her. At first, Zhao Xiaolu remained calm, but when Lu Ziki broke up with her, she finally panicked. It was raining heavily that day. I had just stepped out of the classroom when I ran into Zhao Xiaolu. Her face didn't look good. The spirited confidence she had when we first met was gone, and now she looked haggard, like a dead person. "Mission, Aki has blocked me." Zhao Xiaolu burst into tears as soon as she saw me, pleading, "I can't reach him, and given my family's circumstances, I can't contact his agency either. I don't dare to post about our relationship on Weibo. Mission, could you please tell him for me that I truly like him and that I can't live without him?" I stood on the steps, looking down at her somewhat condescendingly. I had investigated Zhao Xiaolu. Over the years, under her parents' protection, she had appeared as innocent as a blank sheet of paper and had never been in a relationship. The first time I fell in love, I encountered a seasoned player in the game of romance, and naturally, I was completely swept away. That's why she's now, with a love-struck mind, begging me to help her find someone. She, who cries bitterly over losing just one man, would never imagine the inhuman torment I have endured over the past period of time. What kind of feelings did I have when I gave birth to 3 children who looked down on me? Suppressing my turbulent emotions, I held her arm and asked, "What happened?" Zhao Xiaolu lowered her eyes and stammered, "My father found out about my relationship with him and ordered me not to see him anymore. When Aki heard about this, he said he wasn't good enough for me and broke up with me. I know he loves me. He was just hurt by my father's words. As long as he calms down, we can still be together, but now he has blocked me. Can you help me find him?" I nodded. "The agency he's with is owned by my family, so helping you find him won't be difficult, but have you thought about how you're going to resolve things between the two of you? Even though he's a celebrity, he's not exactly a top-tier star. Your dad will still look down on him, even if you reconcile. What will you do in the future?" Zhao Xiaoyu's tears streamed down her face as she shook her head repeatedly. I patted her shoulder reassuringly and said, as if casually, "Say, your parents won't understand you either, unlike my parents, who would never interfere as long as I'm happy." Zhao Xiaoyu's eyes suddenly lit up upon hearing this. She tightly grasped my hand, as if having made a tremendous decision. "Miss Shin, thank you for thinking of me. Having a friend like you is a blessing I must have cultivated over several lifetimes. Can we always be good friends? I've been so heartbroken these past few days when you ignored me." I looked at her and smiled, my expression calm. "Of course we can." My heartbeat gradually quickened, like the pounding of a drum. Zhao Xiaolu also laughed along. "Miss Shin, have you heard of sealing an alliance with blood? Although we are not men, we can also become sworn sisters in this way." I did not agree immediately. Instead, she frowned and said, "Wouldn't that cause bleeding? That doesn't seem good, does it?" "How could it? I did the same when I was 8, and it was fine. Or is it that Miss Shin doesn't want to accept a friend like me?" "Of course not, you know. I felt an instant connection with you. Let's go to your place." Zhao Xiaolu grabbed my arm and hurriedly pulled me outside, completely unaware that behind her, I was laughing so hard tears were about to fall. This time, the process was exactly the same as last time. Not long after the blood was drawn, I fell into a dizzy, heavy sleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a car. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror and said, "Miss Song, you're awake. Miss Shin asked me to take you back to school." The words Miss Song struck my ears, startling me so much that I couldn't snap out of it for a long time. I fished the mirror out of my crossbody bag, and with just one glance, tears came gushing out. "It's me, I'm back." That night, I couldn't sleep at all, repeatedly touching my face in the mirror. I was so careful, afraid that this might be a dream I was having, until 5 in the morning. The light of the sunrise fell on the dormitory bed. I laughed until my face was covered in tears, climbed into bed, and fell asleep contentedly. I had a very long dream. In the dream, I returned to that village. Standing before me was 8-year-old Zhao Xiaolu, crying and begging to come back to the city with us. This time, I felt no pity for her, so, the one who got beaten became her, the one sold to the fat man became her, and the one surrounded by 3 children calling her a slut also became her. When I woke up, my tears had almost dried up from crying. I washed my face, dried my tears, and stood on the balcony, carefully examining my reflection. I breathed a sigh of relief that it hadn't switched back. Just then, my phone vibrated. I tapped the screen and saw a message from the contact labeled "Mom, Shua. Your dad only wants what's best for you. He feels terrible for scolding you. Please don't stay angry. How about we pick you up this week and take you to the Maldives? I've also bought the bag you wanted." My nose tingled with emotion. I wanted to reply, but then I remembered there was still one last thing to take care of. I put my phone away. "Mom, Dad, I'll be done soon. Just wait for me." All morning, I was readjusting to the identity of Song Linxue. Zhao Xiaolu isn't a smart person, but she's not too foolish either. She couldn't learn the manners of a well-bred lady, having given up playing the piano over the years, and her grades were also very poor. But fortunately, with her parents' guidance, she lived a proper life and didn't make any major mistakes, leaving me with a mess to clean up. After finishing the morning classes, I was just about to head back to school. Suddenly, someone rushed out in front of me. "Shaninin, you bitch, how dare you lie to me?" There were many people in the teaching building. Seeing someone acting crazy, they instinctively stood in front of me to protect me. "Classmate, if you have something to say it properly. Why resort to insults? Isn't that the international student Shaninin? How could she curse at Song Linxue? Is Shaninin's language really that foul?" Seeing everyone pointing and whispering about her, Zhao Xiaoya's expression tightened. She had no choice but to suppress her temper, pressing her temples as she said impatiently, "You lied to me." She no longer dared to call me Shaninin. The matter of the body swap was known only to her and me. I let out a cold laugh, crossed my arms, and said, "I thought you wouldn't dare show your face in front of me for the rest of your life." I had hit a nerve, and her expression stiffened. Before this, she had planned to contact that boy, take him abroad to find Shin's parents, settle down overseas, and never return, so the first thing she did upon waking up was to check her phone to find someone. Good news, she found Luziki's WeChat. Bad news. The note I had for him was actually male model Haochin, with a puzzled heart, Zhao Xiaolu. Using my identity, sent a message to Luziki, "Come to Dolphin Bay, and I'll take you abroad, we'll be together for a lifetime." Haochin was puzzled. "Our contract has expired, if you want to meet me, you'll have to pay, but this time I've raised my price, 3,000 yuan a day." Zhao Xiaolu looked at this devaluing message in disbelief. "Luziki, what do you mean by this?" Haochin, "No way, sis. Are you really getting addicted to acting?" Zhao Xiaolu, "Acting what?" Haochin, "I charge for chatting too. If you pay me, I'll tell you." Zhao Xiaolu, filled with questions and unable to get answers, had no choice but to transfer the money to him. However, she was shocked to discover that my WeChat balance had only 13 yuan left. She then opened my Alipay and bank cards, searched through my entire phone, and found that the total amount of money she could gather was less than 50 yuan. Zhao Xiaolu couldn't believe it. At that moment, she didn't care about Haochin anymore and immediately took a taxi to the school to confront me. "Why is there not a single penny in your card, and why does Luziki call Haochin?" I looked at her confused expression and burst into laughter. Zhao Xiaolu grew annoyed and questioned me again. I finally stopped laughing and said meaningfully, "Didn't you say it yourself? I'm just a con artist." Zhao Xiaolu widened her eyes. "Are you saying that your money and Luziki were both lies to deceive me?" I looked at her with a smile. "Wait, what about the villa, the sports car, and all those luxury items?" Before she could finish her sentence, her phone suddenly rang from her bag. Zhao Xiaolu frowned as she answered the call, and an unceremonious voice came from the other end. "Miss Shin, you signed a contract before renting our items. If there is any damage, you are to compensate 10 times the original price. However, when we recovered the bags we previously rented to you, 8 out of 10 had scratches, and the 2 cars also had varying degrees of damage. When will you be paying this compensation?" "Borrowed." Zhao Xiaoyu's voice was sharp. "I didn't borrow your bags. It was Shininin who borrowed them. If you want money, go ask her for it, Miss Shin. This joke is not funny at all. I really am not Shininin. Why should I compensate you? Since Miss Shin is pretending to be crazy and foolish, then just wait for the court summons." After saying that, the other party hung up the phone decisively. Zhao Xiaoyu's expression was a sight to behold, as if she had swallowed 100 flies. After a long pause, she suddenly let out a scream and lunged at me. "You bitch, how dare you scheme against me? I'll strangle you." She didn't even get close to me before a kind-hearted male classmate restrained her, and because she had gone berserk at school and attempted to harm someone, she was thrown out by the security guards. Zhao Xiaolu was still unconvinced, shouting like a madwoman at the school gate, "Why are you kicking me out? I paid my tuition." The school director arrived and, upon hearing this, sneered coldly, "You still have the nerve to bring that up? We just completed a background check and found that all the information you provided to the school was fake. What international student, what daughter of a foreign investor, you actually dared to play us for fools. Just wait for the police to come knocking on your door." Shininin's story quickly became the laughingstock of the entire school. Overnight, Zhao Xiaolu went from an excited fairy tale princess to a despised outcast. Not only did she have to face the school's wrath, but also pay a hefty compensation to the luxury rental company. Moreover, she didn't even have a place to stay in this city, because my villa is rented. The identity information is fake. She couldn't even check into a small hotel. Was Zhao Xiaolu willing to accept this? She was naturally unwilling to accept it. She waited for me outside the school for 3 days. Finally, one afternoon, she caught me chatting and laughing with friends, ready to go for a meal. This time, she was clever enough not to rush forward to harm me. Instead, she stood a few steps away, staring at me sharply and asking, "Tell me, why did you set me up like this? Who exactly are you?" People were coming and going all around, looking at her as if she were a madwoman. I slowly smiled. "What, don't you even recognize yourself anymore?" She didn't understand what I meant and angrily said, "You know what I mean, Shininin. I admit I was greedy first, and the methods I used weren't honorable. But at least I come from a wealthy family, not as miserable as you, and you want to put me to death." I asked my friend to go to the restaurant and wait for me first. After they left, I approached Zhao Xiaolu, looking down at her and said, "Since we both know about the body switching, let's not hide anything. First, tell me exactly what method you used, and then I'll consider answering your questions." Zhao Xiaolu smiled smugly upon hearing this. I might as well tell you the truth, I have a life-swapping system built into me. As long as the other person willingly exchanges blood with me, I can swap identities with them. So, Shaninin, don't get too happy too soon. I am the true protagonist of this world. I suddenly understood. No wonder, even at this point, Zhao Xiaolu doesn't seem the least bit flustered, although she resents me. She hates me for taking Song Linshua's identity, she hates me for deceiving her. But she hasn't reached the point of hysterical desperation. This is because she has a life-swapping system. Once the time is ripe, she can deceive the next girl and casually swap away someone else's life. After figuring it out, I looked at her smug expression and burst out laughing. Zhao Xiaolu frowned, eyeing me warily. What are you laughing at? Take out the phone and say to the person on the other end, are you looking for Zhao Xiaolu? She's right at the gate of Jiangnan University. Come quickly. As soon as I finished speaking, Zhao Xiaolu's expression suddenly changed. She trembled all over, her face turned pale, and she almost squeezed the words out from the depths of her throat. How did you know I'm Zhao Xiaolu? No, you are. She looked at me deeply, realized something, and quickly checked her own body. 2 minutes later, she speculated in disbelief. So, you are Song Linshue? Yes, you must be Song Linshue. You did this on purpose, wanting to switch back. So you used this method, Song Linshue. It really is you. She was incoherent, utterly shocked by me. I watched her hysterics with a blank expression. After a moment, Zhao Xiaolu suddenly let out a sinister, maniacal laugh. So what if you're Song Linshue? So what if you know my method of body swapping? I'll come back in another identity sooner or later. How will you deal with me then, Song Linshue? You couldn't beat me 12 years ago, and you're still no match for me now. You deserve all of this. You think you're better than me just because you were born into a better family. As long as I switch to a body richer than yours, as long as I shed this identity of Zhao Xiaolu, I can still trample all over you. Pedestrians on the street looked at her as if she were a lunatic, just as she was nearly hysterical, pointing at me and shouting insults. From across the street, a burly, dark-skinned couple suddenly rushed over. They held a boy in their arms and led a girl by the hand. A 5-year-old boy moved faster than they did. At the sight of Zhao Xiaolu, he affectionately called out Mom, and immediately rushed toward her. Zhao Xiaolu recognized the couple almost instantly. She was utterly horrified, staring at the boy who had thrown himself on her and bore a striking resemblance to her younger self. Letting out a terrified scream, "Get away, I'm not your mother, don't call me that, thanks to that dead fatso." The boy was incredibly strong and even more unreasonable than Zhao Xiaolu. Seeing her break free, he threw himself to the ground and began throwing a tantrum, rolling around and kicking up a fuss. "You are my mother, even though your face has changed. I recognized you at first glance. Mom, please don't be angry anymore. Come home with us." Zhao Xiaolu's face turned deathly pale, and she immediately tried to run away. Standing to the side, I reminded the stunned rural couple, "She's about to run." The two snapped back to reality, their faces darkening with anger as they stepped forward and grabbed her. "Xiaolu, don't run. We're here today, and we won't let you get away. No one has spoken about your murder. As long as you hand over the money to the village chief and us, no one will come after you." Zhao Xiaolu couldn't believe it, struggling and shouting, "Murder? What murder? I didn't kill anyone." Her voice was so loud that passers-by kept turning their heads to look. The rural couple quickly covered her mouth, warning, "Do you want the whole world to know that you killed Fat Brother?" Zhao Xiaolu was completely shaken, muttering to herself, "I'm not Zhao Xiaolu. I didn't kill anyone. You've got the wrong person." She suddenly looked up, her expression twisted as she glared at me, pointing and saying, "The person you're looking for is over there. She's Zhao Xiaolu." The rural couple glanced at me, then exchanged a look, shaking their heads in unison. "I thought you were crazy 5 years ago, so I married you off early to avoid trouble. I never expected that even after 5 years, your condition has become even more uncontrollable. Let's take her back to the village first. We'll deal with the rest later." I stood to the side with my arms crossed, a faint smile curling at the corner of my lips. "I'm afraid they won't be able to leave." Just as expected, they were supporting Zhao Xiaolu, about to hail a taxi. Suddenly, a police car pulled up beside them. 4 police officers surrounded them, ready for action. Zhao Xiaolu, female, 20 years old, suspected of multiple charges including intentional homicide, forging identity documents, and absconding with a large sum of money. "Come with us now." "No, I didn't." Zhao Xiaolu was terrified out of her wits, throwing a tantrum and screaming hysterically. "The person you're looking for isn't me. I'm not Zhao Xiaolu. She is Zhao Xiaolu. Go arrest her. I'm Song Linshue." The rural couple had long grown accustomed to Zhao Xiaolu claiming to be Song Linshue. They sighed and shook their heads, exclaiming, "Crazy, crazy. She must be crazy to want to be the daughter of a wealthy family." The police naturally didn't believe her. They dragged Zhao Xiaolu into the police car, and soon they disappeared from my sight. The bustling main road. which had just been lively, suddenly fell silent, and those piercing noises were gone. I breathed a sigh of relief and slumped to the ground as if all my strength had drained away. It was finally over. Today, I deliberately provoked Zhao Xiaolu to get her to reveal the details of the exchange system, hearing her say that the other party had to willingly exchange a drop of blood for the life swap to succeed. I couldn't help but feel a wave of relief in the cell. No one would be willing to listen to her talk of sisterly affection. I dragged my weary body and slowly stood up. Just then, a black Cayenne pulled to a stop in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing a beautiful and delicate face. Shua, why are you squatting here? What happened? Even after 12 years, even though this face now bears a few more wrinkles, I still recognized it at a glance. Mom. I almost cried out these words with a sob in my voice. Mom quickly and tenderly helped me into the car, holding me and gently patting my back, just as she did when I was a child, comforting me softly. What's wrong? Who bullied our Shua? Tell Mom, and Mom will stand up for you. I cried in her arms, gasping for breath, desperately feeling the warmth of her embrace as if it might disappear the next second. After crying for a few minutes, Dad in the front suddenly snorted coldly. Don't tell me you're going to make a fuss over that boy again. Humph. Do you think I'm trying to keep you two apart? That boy is no good. I've looked into his background. With red eyes, I looked at him pitifully. Dad, my father sighed. What's wrong, Dad? I called out again, my voice hoarse. I missed you so much. An unnatural expression appeared on my father's face. After a long pause, he said helplessly, all right, what do you want to buy now? I couldn't help but laugh and shook my head, saying, no, Dad. I know I was wrong. I won't make you worry anymore in the future. Upon hearing this, my parents exchanged a glance. They squinted their eyes, staring at me for a long time. I somewhat unnaturally tightened my grip on my skirt. What's wrong? My father suddenly broke into a smile. It's nothing. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. What's for dinner? I want to eat the ribs my mom makes. Then let's go buy some ribs. I hope the supermarket still has fresh ones. Extra story, Songji. My daughter has been acting a bit strange lately. Since returning from the village, it's as if she's become a different person. She no longer enjoys playing the piano. Her favorite dress loses its appeal after just 2 wears. She doesn't like going out to socialize, always staying at home watching cartoons. Snacks that were once eaten in moderation are now consumed without restraint, but all of this only left my wife and me puzzled. What truly made us suspicious was discovering that our daughter had started to defy conventions, no matter how well she disguised it. We also noticed clues from her declining grades, the inexplicable appearance of dating apps on her phone, and the pocket money that was spent like flowing water. My wife was very worried and couldn't sleep night after night. Finally, when our daughter turned 15, we visited the master again. It was the master who had once predicted our daughter's fate, saying she would face a calamity at the age of 8. The master closed his eyes and calculated for a long time, yet he told us, our daughter is suffering, but we have always given Xiaoxue everything she asked for and showered her with love. Where could this suffering come from? The master's words pierced our hearts like a thorn. Meanwhile, we look at our daughter and feel increasingly unfamiliar every time she coquettishly calls us mom and dad. It also gives us a strong sense of disconnection. So we went back to the village again. We wanted to find the girl named Zhao Xiaolu, but they said she had gotten married, and now her husband dotes on her, and she even had a son, living a very happy life. We had no choice but to return home in disappointment, and we vowed to persuade our daughter properly, never letting her go down the wrong path, whether it's for this mysterious person or our real daughter. 5 years passed just like that. That day in the car, my daughter suddenly cried out, calling me Dad. My heart suddenly began to beat intensely. I knew my daughter had come back. My wife knows as well. We have a tacit understanding, and neither of us said anything. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Fortunately, we didn't let our daughter go down the wrong path. Fortunately, everything is still in time. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My mother firmly believes in a tough love approach to education. She always says, if I had your conditions, I would have already gotten into Tsinghua or Peking University, so I asked the system to swap lives with my mom. The college entrance exam results came out. 710 points. My mom, Lin Shuzhen, excitedly ran downstairs and grabbed a passing neighbor to show off. This is all thanks to my years of oppressive parenting, otherwise she wouldn't have done so well. Now you can choose between Tsinghua and Peking University at will, which doesn't let down all the effort I've put into her over the years. More and more people gathered around my mother, listening to her boast about raising a prospective Tsinghua or Peking University student like me. Some even flattered her by asking for advice on how she managed to raise such a promising child. My mother stood proudly in the center of the crowd, like a victorious rooster, basking in everyone's admiration. I climbed over the balcony, sat on the windowsill, and jumped down without any hesitation. My home is on the 7th floor, and there was simply no chance of survival from such a fall. I plummeted straight down, landing right in front of the crowd. With a thud, all my bones shattered. Excruciating pain quickly spread throughout my body, and blood began to pool beneath me. I can feel life slipping away, yet all I feel in my heart is exhilaration, an unprecedented sense of exhilaration. My mother firmly believes in a tough love approach to education. From the time I was 4 years old, my mother set a strict daily schedule and study plan for me. I had to wake up at 7 o'clock every morning and go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. You have to memorize 5 ancient poems and 20 vocabulary words every day. If you fail, you'll get your palms slapped and go without food. So during that time, I was always hungry and frequently beaten. Dad couldn't stand it and tried to persuade Mom, but she scolded him harshly in return. If we don't start pushing her now, do you want her to end up like us, working for others with no future? Constantly being scolded and pointed at, my dad was scolded into silence, completely losing his voice. When I was 7 years old, my mom and dad got divorced. The reason was that my dad couldn't stand my mom's way of raising me, so he had an affair and had a child with another woman. That child was already over 2 years old. Throughout her life, she had a low level of education, struggled at work, endured daily scolding from her boss, and in the end, the husband she trusted also had an affair and had a child with another woman. My mother completely broke down and had a huge fight with my father. Lin Shuzhen, you're simply unreasonable. They eventually divorced, and my mother took me away. I was like the last lifeline she had grabbed onto, and she held onto me tightly. Jiao Jiao, you are all I have left. You must make something of yourself, to show those people that my way of raising you is not wrong. From that moment on, my responsibilities grew even heavier. I started elementary school, and on top of completing my schoolwork, I also had to finish the additional tasks she assigned me. My daily routine shifted to waking up at 6 in the morning and going to bed at 11 at night. Every day, besides my school homework, I have to finish 5 extra test papers before I can go to sleep. On weekends and during winter and summer vacations, while other kids can enjoy themselves to the fullest, I can only sit lifelessly in my chair, working on endless practice problems. I have no holidays, no entertainment, and no free time. When children playing downstairs pass by, if I even glance at them, my mom's ruler will sting my hand the very next second. What are you looking at? Those people are all willingly degrading themselves. You're going to get into Tsinghua or Peking University in the future. How can you be like them? I could only withdraw my gaze and focus on the test paper in front of me. After I successfully got into a key middle school as I wished, the academic workload became even heavier. I had to come in first in my grade every time, otherwise, I would have to kneel outside the door and reflect until my mother was satisfied. A neighbor aunt passing by couldn't stand it and tried to persuade my mom. My mom fiercely scolded her back. It's none of your business how I educate my own child. Are you so malicious that you can't stand to see my child achieve good grades? From then on, no one dared to speak up for me. In high school, my schedule changed to sleeping at 2 and waking up at 5, with at least 10 test papers a day. Under such strict education, I developed depression, and my grades plummeted. When my mother found out, she made me kneel at the door wearing only a sweatshirt in the dead of winter. What depression? I think it's all an act. If I had your conditions, I'd definitely do better than you. At such a young age, you don't study hard and even learn to fake illness. Kneel properly. You're not allowed to get up until I say so. I'm going to cure you of this illness properly. My body was so numb from the cold that I eventually fainted in the snow. It was the kind neighbor aunt who took me to the hospital. I had a high fever for 3 whole days, and when I woke up, my mother scolded me harshly. Just kneeling outside for a little while and you couldn't handle it. So fragile. Starting tomorrow, get up at 4 and go running for me. I floated in midair, watching myself lying in a pool of blood. My mother's triumphant expression instantly froze on her face, the color draining away, leaving it deathly pale. One moment she was being praised by everyone for her success, and the next, her proud exhibit was forced to jump off the building. How ironic, yet I felt incredibly happy, happier than I had been on any day of my 18 years. The piercing sound of police sirens grew louder and closer. My body was carried away, and the crime scene was cordoned off. I followed the police and my mother into the house. On my desk lay the suicide note I had just written. I'm just too exhausted. I don't want to be the top student anymore. Seeing my suicide note, my mother completely broke down. All these years, I've poured all my heart and soul into you. I've done everything for your own good, And this is how you repay me. I just wanted you to study a little harder. We've been through so much over the years, and we were almost there. Why can't you do it now? You're so fragile. If you die, what will I do? What will happen to all the effort I've put in over the years? What will I do in the future? My mother was crying hysterically, but no one made a sound. Suddenly, a mechanical voice rang in my ear. The life exchange system has been successfully bound. Whose life would you like to exchange? Looking at my hysterical mother, I firmly uttered 3 words, Lin Shuzhen. The room was in disarray, with the signed divorce papers lying on the table. That was the year I turned 7, when my parents had a huge fight and divorced. From that day on, my academic workload became even heavier. Footsteps echoed from the bedroom. It was Lin Shuzhen, who was now inside my body. I turned my head, and she startled, taking a step back. Jiao Jiao, come here. I imitated her former manner, calling her over. After a moment's hesitation, she still walked step by step toward me. I gripped her arms tightly, staring intently at her, repeating the words my mother had once said, Jiao Jiao, you are all I have left. You must make something of yourself. To show those people that my way of raising you is not wrong. She stared at me blankly, as if still processing what was happening. I pretended not to notice her unusual reaction and continued speaking on my own. Jiao Jiao, we must work even harder from now on. We can only rely on ourselves, and I can only depend on you. You must strive to make us proud. These were the words my mother repeated to me day and night in the past. They were the responsibilities I had to bear, and also the shackles that bound me day and night, making it hard for me to breathe and impossible to break free. Now, I have placed these same shackles on her. I wonder how far she can bear them. At 5 in the morning. I wake up on time to make breakfast, a habit I developed during my 3 years of high school. I am required to get up at 5 o'clock every morning, which is too early. I have to make my own breakfast, otherwise I'll go hungry. There is a surveillance camera installed in the room, and my mother checks it every day when she wakes up. If I'm late, even by 1 minute, I get 10 strikes on the palm of my hand, and I have to spend the entire day studying while kneeling in the hallway. At 6 in the morning, the alarm clock rang on time, and I sat at the dining table waiting to get up for breakfast. 5 minutes later, there was no movement from inside the bedroom. I took out the ruler that had struck me countless times before and pushed open the bedroom door. In the dimly lit room, Lin Shuzhen lay in bed, sound asleep. I threw off the covers, raised the ruler high, and just like my mother had done countless times, I struck her heavily with it. Lin Shuzhen snapped awake instantly. Looking up and seeing me, she hurriedly got out of bed to wash up, not daring to delay for even a moment. Even someone like my mother is afraid of herself. You woke up 5 minutes late today, so you'll get 5 strikes on the palm. After school, go kneel in the hallway to do your homework. Lin Shuzhen dared not resist, trembling as she extended her palm. The ruler came down heavily, and her originally fair and tender palm instantly turned bright red. Lin Shuzhen couldn't help but cry out in pain. I acted as if I hadn't heard, striking again and again without holding back. In no time at all, her fair and tender palm swelled up high. All right, hurry up and eat. You still have to go to school soon, and you haven't done your morning reading yet. Lin Shuzhen's left palm was red and swollen. The warm porridge bowl pressed against her palm, causing a burning pain. She couldn't hold the bowl steady, yet she dared not put it down. Fearing she would be punished again, after breakfast, Lin Shuzhen hurried back to her room for morning reading, speaking loudly, afraid I wouldn't hear her. At 7:30, Lin Shuzhen and I got into a ride-hailing car together. Inside the car, she rolled down the window to enjoy the scenery outside, while I opened my backpack and disappointedly handed her a stack of Chinese language materials. Jiao Jiao, if you look at the scenery for 10 minutes, the scenery still isn't yours. But if you study Chinese for 10 minutes, that knowledge becomes yours. Lin Shuzhen could only reluctantly withdraw her gaze and fix her eyes on the book. Not even 2 minutes later, Lin Shuzhen turned around and cautiously made a request to me. Mom, I'm feeling carsick and want to throw up. Can I stop watching? I replied to her with the same words she had once said to me. If you can't even overcome motion sickness, how can I expect you to achieve anything in the future? Lin Shuzhen had no choice but to watch while vomiting and vomit while watching, enduring the torment until the car finally stopped. After Lin Shuzhen left, the ride-hailing driver turned around. Miss, you're being too strict with your daughter. Reading in the car isn't good for her eyes. I fell silent for a moment, then took a deep breath and looked out the window. Let's go, driver, I'm going to be late for work. Everyone thought Lin Shuzhen was too strict, but she saw it as perfectly normal. At 8 o'clock sharp, I sat down at Lin Shuzhen's workstation, turned on the computer, and checked her work progress. The next second, a thick stack of documents landed beside me. Shuzhen, sort these out and give them to me today. Lin Shuzhen didn't have a high level of education. She graduated from high school and eventually found a clerical job at this company, earning 3,000 yuan a month. She didn't dare to offend her colleagues, but I won't indulge her. This is your job. I won't do it. The person across was somewhat surprised. What did you say? If your ears aren't working, go get them treated. I said I won't do it. Lin Shuzhen, if you don't take it away, I don't mind helping you put it in the shredder. As I spoke, I was about to take action. The person across from me quickly gathered the documents and left. All my colleagues around me looked at me with astonishment, and no one dared to ask me for help casually anymore. No one dares to provoke someone who is not easy to mess with. Lin Shuzhen did not dare to refuse her colleagues or contradict her superiors. She only dared to vent her emotions on me because I am her daughter, only dared to throw a tantrum with the neighbor aunt, because she has a kind heart. When I got home from work, Lin Shuzhen was kneeling in the hallway doing her homework. Just as I was about to enter the house, the door across the hall opened, and the woman, seeing me return, hesitated before approaching. In the end, she spoke softly to persuade me. Shuzhen, why don't you let the child go inside to write? It's not good to be out here. The child can't study properly, and it doesn't look good for others to see. Lin Shuzhen also looked at me with a hint of hope in her eyes. Facing the neighbor aunt, I simply couldn't bring myself to throw a tantrum like my mother did. If she hadn't taken me to the hospital in time that year, I wouldn't dare to imagine what would have happened to me. I glanced at Lin Shuzhen with a smile. Since you've spoken up, let her come in and write today. The woman was a bit surprised, not expecting me to be so agreeable today, and couldn't help but remind me not to be too strict with the child. I smiled and agreed. Lin Shuzhen followed me into the house. You're not Lin Shuzhen. Who are you? I wasn't the least bit surprised that she had found out. I had already prepared myself for her discovery when I was speaking kindly to the neighbor. I turned to face her. Mom, how come you don't recognize me? Lin Shuzhen became instantly agitated. She lunged at me, trying to hit me, but I easily restrained her. He Jiao, you ungrateful wretch. I worked so hard to get you into Tsinghua or Peking University, and you actually jumped off a building. I really raised you for nothing. Hurry up and change back for me. She still wanted to hit me, but I forcefully pushed her aside. He Jiao, I am Lin Shuzhen now. If you dare to lay a hand on me again, don't even think about coming in today. Lin Shuzhen immediately fell silent. Knowing she was no match for me now, she glared at me and asked, how can we switch back? I chuckled and answered without hesitation, of course. It's when you get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Lin Shuzhen scoffed lightly. That's it. With your conditions, I could definitely get in. Did you cause any trouble at work today? Don't worry, I'll make sure you get the same conditions as me. The elementary school curriculum wasn't difficult for Lin Shuzhen, who had graduated from high school, and her grades were consistently at the top of the class. She was extremely proud of this. I thought it was something serious. But it's just this level. I really can't understand why you can't get first place. Yet she never considered that she, a high school graduate, was comparing herself to an elementary school student. I ignored her sarcastic remarks. There will be plenty of hard days ahead for her. After graduating from elementary school, Lin Shuzhen and I both got into a key middle school. On the day she got her grades, she was as proud as ever. It's such a simple thing. You kept saying you were under so much pressure, studying late into the night and still falling short. I thought it was really difficult. I put down the report card and looked at her with a half smile. In middle school, you have to be the top scorer in every exam, just like now. Otherwise, you'll kneel outside the door and reflect until I'm satisfied. How many points you are behind the first place, I will hit your palm 5 times that amount. My words made Lin Shuzhen's face flush red and then turn pale. Don't go too far. Have I ever treated you like this? She had forgotten all the harm she had caused me. I sneered. Isn't there? No. One middle school is the best junior high school in the city, and I gave it my all to get in. The school is filled with the top students from all over the city, even though I put in more time and effort than others every day after getting into the school. The knowledge in junior high is on a completely different level from elementary school. In the first monthly exam, I still didn't manage to come in first, which was the first time in all these years that I hadn't taken the top spot. I am 20 points behind the first place, ranking 4th. The moment Lin Shuzhen got my report card, she slapped me hard across the face. 4th place. He Jiao, are you trying to get yourself killed? I provide you with good food and drink every day, and you only managed to get 4th place, 20 points behind the first place. Hold out your hand, 5 strokes for each point. Let's see if you can learn your lesson. Lin Shuzhen took out the ruler, raising it high and bringing it down hard, each stroke stinging with a fiery pain. My hands turned from red and swollen to bruised and purple, and in the end, they even began to bleed. But Lin Shuzhen still didn't stop. I cried and begged her for mercy, but she only struck harder. Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson so you won't dare to neglect your studies again. Quickly, hold out your hand. Her hands were already too injured to be hit, and Lin Shuzhen didn't want to cripple them. The ruler moved from her hands to her calves, striking again and again. Gradually, the red and swollen skin on her calves turned purple and blue, and finally, blood began to seep out. Finally, after enough hits, Lin Shuzhen was also tired, panting heavily as she pointed toward the door. Go out and kneel until I'm satisfied. Ignoring the pain in my hands and calves, I quickly went out and knelt down. In the end, it was the neighbor aunt who saw me covered in injuries and hurriedly brought out a first aid kit to treat me. I begged her not to tell my mother. That night, I knelt for hours. Time passed quickly, and the results of the first monthly exam in 7th grade were released. Lin Shuzhen timidly handed the report card to me, anxiously trying to explain and make excuses. This was just a slip-up. The knowledge in middle school is so different from elementary school, and I haven't adjusted yet. It's normal that I didn't perform well. I scanned down the report card. He Jiao was ranked 6th, 25 points behind the first place. He Jiao, you performed so poorly. Do you think you deserve to be punished? I slapped her hard, then reached for the ruler and gestured for her to hold out her hand, faced with the rules she had set herself. Lin Shuzhen was left speechless and reluctantly extended her hand. With a sharp slap, the fair palm turned bright red, then swollen and bruised. Lin Shuzhen began to shout, pulling her hand back. That's enough. It's already like this and you still want to hit me. I am your mother. You're wrong. Now you are He Jiao. Quickly, extend your hand. Lin Shuzhen was unwilling and started to fight with me. She reached out her hand, wanting to slap me as she had before. I grabbed her hand tightly and struck it hard on her already bruised and purple skin. Lin Shuzhen screamed in pain, trying to break free from my grip. I gripped her wrist tightly, and she had no choice but to endure every stroke of the ruler. Blood stains appeared on the ruler, and I struck her calf again with even greater force. After several strokes, her calf began to swell and turn red. Stop hitting me. Stop hitting me. I was wrong. I promise I'll study hard. The ruler continued to fall. Completely ignoring her pleas for mercy, if I don't teach you a lesson today, you'll never focus on your studies next time. 99, 100, I just put down the blood-stained ruler and let out a long sigh. You hit me 100 times back then, and now I'm returning 100. I won't hit you any more than that. Go kneel in the room until tomorrow morning. Lin Shuzhen widened her eyes in shock. I still have to go to school tomorrow, I sneered. I had school the next day too, but you made me kneel in the hallway all night. Wasn't kneeling all night what you wanted? Faced with her own actions, Lin Shuzhen had nothing to say and could only kneel resentfully. I carried the quilt into my old room and spread it out. Starting tomorrow, I'll personally supervise your studies. Tonight, you can just kneel here. At 7 in the morning, after breakfast, I sat beside Lin Shuzhen to supervise her morning reading. For every word she misread, the ruler would strike her already scarred hands, causing her to flinch and cry out in pain. This made her read with constant fear, terrified of being beaten. Every day after school, I would wait at the door, timing her arrival. If she was even a minute late, she would have to kneel outside for an hour. I sit beside her, monitoring her homework. For every mistake, she gets an extra test paper. She can only go to sleep after completing everything correctly. Lin Shuzhen is just like I used to be. No free time, no entertainment, no holidays, no freedom. Every day is like being a learning machine, with nothing but constant studying. A heavy burden presses down on her at all times, leaving no moment to catch her breath. In my 3rd year of junior high, I installed a surveillance camera in my room to monitor Lin Shuzhen 24/7, making sure she was always studying. If you don't erupt in silence, you'll perish in it. On the day the high school entrance exam results were released, Lin Shuzhen and I stared intently at the phone screen together. The phone refreshed to a new page, and the score had reached the cutoff line. Lin Shuzhen breathed a sigh of relief. You can finally remove the surveillance now. I looked at her with a half smile. You're so eager for me to remove the surveillance. Is it because you want to slack off? Or are you planning to do something shady? I'm not. You promised me before that you would remove the surveillance once I got into a top high school. You're about to start high school. Instead of focusing on your studies, you're obsessing over the surveillance every day. It seems like you're asking for punishment. Lin Shuzhen's face turned pale and then flushed, a truly dramatic sight. What's wrong? Weren't these all your words? Wasn't it you who installed surveillance in the room for 4 years? Lin Shuzhen was left speechless and eventually turned around to go back to her room. I was making dinner in the kitchen, and when I looked up again, the surveillance video on my phone had disappeared, replaced by a screen of darkness. I immediately rushed into the room, roaring loudly, Lin Shuzhen, what are you doing? Why are you blocking? The window in the room was wide open, and Lin Shuzhen was sitting backward on the windowsill railing, with just a slight lean back. She would be shattered to pieces just like me. She tightly gripped the railing with both hands, looking at me with full vigilance. What are you doing? Come down quickly, don't come any closer, or I'll jump right now. As she spoke, she leaned her body backward. I had no choice but to stop in my tracks and soften my tone. Mom, what on earth are you trying to do? Take down the surveillance camera right now, or I'll jump off right this instant. Mom, I promise you, please come down. I'll take down the camera as soon as you come down. I don't believe you. Take it down now, or I'll jump. I took a few steps forward, and Lin Shuzhen immediately became alert and shouted, "What are you doing? Don't come any closer." I helplessly pointed to the toolbox in the corner by the window and explained to her, "I'm going over to get the tools." I approached step by step. Lin Shuzhen watched my every move closely, seeing that I was really bending down to pick up the tool. She finally relaxed. I quickly stood up, and while she wasn't paying attention, I pulled her down from the railing, swiftly closed the window, and blocked it with my body. A slap landed on her face before she could even react. "Lin Shuzhen, you're insane." With a slap, Lin Shuzhen snapped back to reality. "I am crazy. A life like this is worse than death." I grabbed her tightly with both hands, staring straight into her eyes. "Lin Shuzhen, you can't give up. Have you forgotten why my dad divorced you? Why they all look down on you? You need to prove it to them. You need to show them that you were right. You're not satisfied with me, and now you can prove you were right yourself, can't you?" Lin Shuzhen froze, her lips trembling, unable to utter a single word for a long time. The surveillance was ultimately left in place. I contacted the renovation company to install an additional protective railing outside the window to prevent Lin Shuzhen from attempting to jump again. After this incident, Lin Shuzhen quieted down for a while. Every day, she strictly followed the schedule to get up and study, no longer arguing or complaining with me. I woke up early each day to prepare breakfast, then went back to sleep for a while, and no longer used surveillance or the ruler to strictly control her. We got along peacefully for a whole year. At the end of the second semester of senior high school, Lin Shuzhen's grades suddenly dropped significantly. For this reason, the homeroom teacher specifically came to me. "Student He Jiao's recent performance has been consistently unsatisfactory, with many mistakes in daily quizzes and low completion rates on assignments, usually quiet at school too. I suspect the child might be under too much pressure. I suggest the parents take them out to relax a bit." The homeroom teacher's words suddenly made me realize something. In my senior year of high school, my grades dropped significantly. My homeroom teacher suspected that I might be under too much pressure and could be suffering from depression, so she suggested my mom take me to the hospital for a checkup. The test results came back, and I was indeed diagnosed with mild depression. At that time, I was feeling down, suffering from insomnia and loss of appetite, and my grades plummeted, which only made me more anxious. Lin Shuzhen didn't take it seriously. Thinking I wasn't focused on my studies, she punished me by making me kneel in the freezing snow in thin clothes, causing me to collapse with a high fever and remain unconscious for 3 days. As soon as I regained consciousness, she dragged me to the school and caused a scene, accusing my classmates of distracting me from my studies and causing my grades to plummet. She also made a scene in the teacher's office, claiming the homeroom teacher was incompetent, and when my grades dropped, she even said I was suffering from depression. From then on, my classmates dared not approach me anymore, fearing that they might be unlucky enough to be caught by my mother and become the scapegoat for my declining grades. The teacher also never dared to talk to my mother again. My mood grew even more depressed, and my condition worsened. In the end, to take revenge on my mother and to free myself, I jumped from the building. As memories flooded back, I sincerely thanked my homeroom teacher and decided to take Lin Shuzhen to the hospital for a checkup. I want her to taste the pain I've endured over the years, to feel the heavy shackles on me, but I never thought of letting her die. I booked an appointment with a specialist online in advance and secretly brought Lin Shuzhen to the hospital. After a series of examinations, the doctor reviewed the test results and delivered the conclusion: the patient does indeed suffer from mild depression. It is recommended that family members avoid applying too much pressure and allow the patient to maintain a relaxed state of mind. Usually, I actively counsel patients to help them relax. I carefully listen to the doctor's advice. Lin Shuzhen, standing nearby, suddenly points at the doctor and hurls insults. "You quack, what depression? It's all made up by you. I would never get such an affected illness. I'm perfectly fine, and you actually dare to curse me. Believe it or not, I'll go and file a complaint against you." The sudden turn of events left both me and the doctor stunned. I quickly snapped back to reality, dragging Lin Shuzhen out as I apologized to the doctor along the way. Even after walking out of the hospital gate, Lin Shuzhen continued to chatter non-stop. "I would never get a mental illness. Only you would get such an affected disease. I don't think there's anything wrong at all. These quacks are just deceiving people. Didn't you also say you had this illness back then, and you turned out just fine, even scoring so high on exams?" Lin Shuzhen's voice was loud all the way, drawing countless sidelong glances from people. I suddenly felt powerless. I couldn't save her, nor could I save myself. I finally couldn't bear it any longer. The beast in my heart completely broke free from the ground and devoured us. "If you're not sick, then why did you perform so poorly? Don't you think you deserve to be punished?" Lin Shuzhen shrank back and finally fell silent. On the way home, Lin Shuzhen remained silent. Just as we reached the doorstep, I suddenly turned and asked her, "Mom, do you still remember how you used to punish me back then?" Lin Shuzhen looked up in confusion. clearly having forgotten the scars that fell upon me. The pain that went deep into my bones were trivial matters in her eyes. You made me kneel in the freezing snow in thin clothes until you were satisfied. I fainted, ran a high fever, and was unconscious for 3 days. Have you forgotten? My tone was casual, so calm it seemed as if I were telling someone else's story. I smiled, looking at the person in front of me with a stiff expression. I don't need you to wear thin clothes. Kneel now. And keep kneeling until I'm satisfied. Lin Shuzhen knelt in the snow for 3 hours and caught a severe cold. From then on, Lin Shuzhen's grades stopped declining and gradually improved again. Her symptoms have worsened. She eats less, becomes more withdrawn, and occasionally shows slight signs of self-harm. I tried to stop her, but it was of little use, and in the end, I let her be. I am a patient myself, unable to save another. Our arms bear the same scars. The seasons change, and time turns. Lin Shuzhen finally faced the college entrance examination, having lost a lot of weight over the year. I stood at the door to see her off for the exam. The 2 days passed quickly, and Lin Shuzhen seemed to finally breathe a sigh of relief, as if she had just recovered from a serious illness. On the day the results were released, we anxiously waited together by the computer. As she entered the last digit, the score appeared on the screen. 710 points, the same score as me. Lin Shuzhen was crying and laughing. 710 points, 710 points. I was right, I wasn't wrong. See, I was right, I wasn't wrong. Ha, whoa, I was right. She stumbled to her feet and walked out. I followed behind her, and we went up to the top floor together. She climbed over the railing and sat on the edge of the rooftop. I stood quietly behind her, neither stopping her nor calling the police. More and more people gathered downstairs, shouting for her to come down. But she paid no heed. I looked up at the sunlight hanging on the horizon, the breeze gently brushing the hair by my cheek. In the end, she leaped into the air and fell heavily. The mechanical sound echoed in my ears. The host has chosen to exchange lives with a deceased individual. The host will now be sent into the cycle of reincarnation. May the host find happiness and fulfillment in the next life. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.